The female stating she thinks her mother was killed.
Buffalo police rushed to a home on South Ogden where they found 44-year-old Amanda Thompson shot to death. The suspect is this man, 49-year-old Ricky Crouch. Police say they were previously in a relationship. And this is video of the two from an interview that they did with Channel 2 in 2022. Crouch has history going back to the late 90s when he served time for murder. He was captured in a nearby suburban town. After serving years in prison, he was released.
He was released early off of parole in 2023, and so he was not on parole at the time of this homicide.
And this year, he was arrested for a burglary with a handgun at Thompson's home on South Ogden. He was booked and released. According to the police report, he grabbed the victim by the throat in the presence of her 2 children, then fled from officers in a vehicle and on foot. He was released.
This is a gentleman who has a previous homicide conviction, who was paroled early, has an issue from the second week of May, where he was, bail was set. He got out, he violated an order of protection, and was arrested again a couple days later, and was released on his own recognizance. And where you have a district attorney's office that was asking for him because he was obviously seen as a threat to be held. But he wasn't.
On your side in Buffalo, Claudine Ewing, Channel 2 News.
Yeah, good evening, Mary Alice. Just a few short hours ago, Amherst Police Chief Scott Chamberlain releasing that body cam video of 2 of his officers and the involved police shooting there on Bailey Avenue Saturday night. One of his officers was stabbed multiple times. Amherst police now identify that suspect as 26-year-old Raquel Grant. Prior to this incident, he had multiple felony warrants out for his arrest. Amherst police were called to the 4800 block of Bailey Avenue in Amherst just before 5 o'clock Saturday night for a domestic dispute. As officers began searching for Grant exited the back window of the house, charged at Officer Aiden Vangelov with those knives in his hand. Officer Vangelov was stabbed in his arm and shoulder. At the same time, Lieutenant Matthew Labuglio tried to use his taser on Grant, but there wasn't a good connection. Officer Vangelov was able to kick Grant back, and at that point, both officers fired their guns, 5 shots in total, striking Grant multiple times. Here's Chief Chamberlain talking about how a routine call can quickly escalate.
You can't get complacent, and you don't know when something like this is going to happen. It could happen in 2 seconds, right? This was a kind of a routine call, and the next thing Officer Vangelov knows, he's on the ground and he's been stabbed. So yes, it's a dangerous job. We handle 57,000 plus calls per year, every year, and we're a big agency. We have a lot of officers, and these kinds of things are certainly possible. We've been lucky for a very long time that we haven't had one, but it can happen at any time, anywhere.
Grant remains in the hospital, listed in serious condition, according to Chief Chamberlain. Now, the Erie County DA's office had no comment tonight. They said the investigation is ongoing and they had no charges to announce at this time. Both officers are expected to return to duty shortly, neither one of them facing any disciplinary actions. On your side in Amherst, Nate Benson, Channel 2 News.
This is about moving past just the academic knowledge, which is very important, and doing something with your knowledge.
A new path to a high school diploma is being paved by the New York State Board of Regents.
Not everyone performs well on a standardized test one day in June to talk about their proficiencies.
By the fall of 2027, students will not have to pass a Regents exam in order to graduate. Instead, the board is introducing a new framework called Portrait of a Graduate, which outlines 6 traits they want to see in a high school graduate, including a show of critical thinking and effective communication skills.
There's still going to be that need to take those standardized tests, which is a good thing, but there are just going to be alternative pathways to show your proficiency.
Mark Laurie is the superintendent of schools in Niagara Falls. He says an approach like this one is long overdue.
And there are very few jobs that demonstrate your proficiency based on how you bubble in an answer sheet. So the more we can align the world of work with the assessment to say whether you're ready to step into that career or profession, the better you are.
Well, students will have the option to meet graduation requirements through presentations, portfolios, college courses, and other hands-on experiences. Something that Lori says is already happening in Niagara Falls classrooms.
We have a construction trades course, and there is no bubble test to show whether those students in the construction trades or our media program should get a passing grade or not. You have to demonstrate your proficiency by being able to build a picnic table that's going to be sturdy and stand the test of time.
Give 716 Day helps so many charitable organizations like the Michigan Street African American Heritage Corridor. Money raised today will help the group expand its community programs. It's also a day to celebrate Buffalo and Western New York, and the BFLO store did giveaways and had special appearances by Bandits and Bills players all afternoon.
When you spend $77.16 or more, you get this Go Bills hat with your purchase. 716 Day being our area code, 716, so July 16th. It's a day to get the community out, to give back to the community, donate, and such like that, give to the 716 Fund. It's just a day of excitement, music, live music, get people hyped, just celebrate Buffalo, celebrate the Queen City and everything we have to offer.
You can still give tonight. There's a full list of all the groups that are taking part with my story on our website. On your side in Buffalo, Kelly Dudzik, Channel 2 News.
So many people have been sharing their memories about this staple of a restaurant, Michael's. It's been here since 1966. And now you can see that caution tape lines the restaurant, and there's even a condemned sign on the front door.
It's heartbreaking. It's sad.
From across the street on Pine Avenue,
A lot of smoke everywhere. Very lot of smoke.
Michael Whittle watched as first responders worked to put out a fire Saturday night around 9 at Michael's Italian restaurant.
Then the firefighters came right here and went in through the front, broke the windows, and did their thing.
Officials with the city say the fire started in the kitchen.
Seeing the last day has been just cars stopping, constantly taking pictures, and you see the heartbreak.
This restaurant has been a cornerstone of this neighborhood with 61 years in business. They provided customers with not only meals, but also generations of memories.
We used to come get takeout here, me and my fiance. She likes it. It's like a old Italian restaurant. There's so many few good ones left.
I personally like the spaghetti that comes out of here and the Alfredo. I only sat down a couple times, but the atmosphere is great all around.
With an unclear future, left now are the memories of events and meals at the fire-damaged and boarded-up building.
Really would like to see the community rally around them, because I can't imagine what their family's going through right now.
Officials in Niagara Falls tell us the building sustained $150,000 worth of damage. The cause still under investigation tonight, and we don't know if or when Michael's will reopen. On your side in Niagara Falls, Courtney Courtwright, Channel 2 News.
The minute-long video begins by showing Tab inside a cell. When it is opened, a female deputy stands before her, her arms loaded up with lunch. That's when Tab balled up her fist and decked the deputy. In the footage, you see the deputy fall to the ground after being punched, and then Tab throwing additional punches, as well as stomping and kicking the deputy several more times, including a blow to the head. The attack lasts for 27 seconds uninterrupted until other officers arrive to push Tab off the injured female deputy, who was taken to ECMC for treatment of injuries to her head, hip, and knee. We are also told Tab, who has now been charged with assault and obstructing governmental administration, tried to strike another deputy attempting to serve her lunch the next day, but that deputy was able to restrain her. According to Sheriff John Garcia, this was, quoting now, nothing short of a sickening, unprovoked assault. Attacks on those who guard inmates behind bars were highlighted earlier this year during the multi-week wildcat strike conducted by state corrections officers, who said much the same as Garcia when he remarked regarding this incident, "Unfortunately, New York State corrections law ties our hands. There's very little we can do when an incarcerated individual acts in this manner. There's simply little deterrent to this behavior." Garcia also said he's asking again for state representatives to reconsider laws such as the HALT Act, something which he says would help protect jail deputies and corrections officers.
We're not looking for every kid that shoplifts or breaks a window or whatnot to be sent to adult criminal court, but what these bills would do would take into account some of these very serious offenses to public safety and hold those individuals accountable with some consequences where they just wouldn't be immediately released.
New York State Assemblyman Pat Klaczynski is sounding the alarm following an incident that happened in Cheektowaga Town Park on July 7th. Police say detectives spotted a stolen Nissan SUV at a gas station, and witnesses say they saw the SUV drive onto a field towards dozens of children, hitting another vehicle, sending the driver of the parked car to the hospital. The 3 teens accused of stealing the car were released from custody because of their age.
There's a lot of people that are proposing changes that don't have a lot of experience on the ground in their community working in the law enforcement or court fields. So I think in some level they're a little bit out of touch with the problems that are happening.
One Cheektowaga town councilman says he believes reforms are needed to address teen crime.
Here we are in this great town of Cheektowaga. Instead of talking about everything that we have to offer, we're talking about averted tragedies and almost tragedies. For what? Because some kid took a car and decided to drive 100 miles an hour.
Councilman Filipski says teen crime is impacting municipalities across western New York.
We're not saying put everybody in jail. That's not the answer. But what we're doing right now isn't. It's dangerous, and it's going to get worse. And we get stolen cars coming from Orchard Park, Lancaster, Depew, Amherst, West Seneca, Buffalo. It's not just a city line thing. It's all over town.
Hey there, good morning. We all know how a Broadway show goes. You start with the big intro, flashing lights, and then a little bit of conflict in the first act to keep things interesting. Despite being the lead in my 11th grade production of How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, there will be no razzle-dazzle or singing and dancing from me in this one. But there is a bit of stage drama brewing between Shays Performing Arts Center and their neighbors at Theater Place Apartments. It's all centered around the planned 4-story expansion to Shays, which includes a new facade along Pearl Street, signage, lighting, high-speed elevators, and...
It will add the most popular feature of this new development, 63 new bathroom fixtures.
But not everyone is thrilled with it. As you can see in this new rendering of the Shays project, while the expansion eats up mostly a unused vacant parking lot, and it will allow for the theater goers to be dropped off.
One of those concerns are the blocking of the residential windows, as well as that back entrance, which would make it difficult for visitors or tenants to find the location of that entrance.
Diana Koenig is an attorney for Phillips Lytle, representing building owner Frank Chininci, who attended virtually. There's also concerns about the lighting from the new facade being at window level to the apartments. Koenig says,
Shays has been pretty much kind of unresponsive, communicative with the property owner about this project, even after reaching out to Shays multiple times, requesting plans, requesting to meet. We even sent a letter on behalf of the owner last week prior to coming to the planning board meeting to air out those concerns.
We still understand the change in their attitude or their unwillingness to explain or even give us any opportunity to comment on or have an impact on the design of this building. They just simply went and did it and ignored it.
In turn, designer Steve Carmina says that Chininci wasn't responsive to his requests to access the basement of Theater Place Apartments so that they could inspect underground structures in the vacant lot that would become home to the expansion.
We literally had to cut a hole through the roof of that structure to get down there to see what kind of structure we had. So I'm not sure if that part of participation was really happening either way.
The back and forth was enough for the planning board to table the measure and encouraged both sides to have a meeting of the minds, so to speak, before the next board meeting on July 28th. A spokesperson for Shays had no comment after the public hearing. If the expansion is not approved by the next planning board meeting in July, Shays will have to wait for approval in September when the board returns from August recess. On your side, Nate Benson, Channel 2 News.
Yeah, you might call this tangled relations on Chautauqua Lake this summer with massive weed growth, specifically in the southern basin where this has always been an issue, really causing problems this year. Some of the worst that multiple groups and homeowners I've spoken to say that it's been ever, if not in years. But there are differing opinions about how to tackle this problem now and going forward.
For the last month or so, this was about the only boat I could get out in.
Jerry Ryder and residents along Burtis Bay at the south end of Chautauqua Lake have started the summer snared by weeds.
It's just a mess.
A mess that until being cut this week extended from his dock to that mat of green in the middle, now making its way to land. It's one of a few problem spots that the Chautauqua Lake Association has been criticized for not tackling soon enough this year.
It's unacceptable, and it's nothing new. The area we're talking about is a problem every year.
Mother Nature threw a curveball at us.
CLA Executive Director Doug Conroe says rapid growth caused some hiccups, but they are back on track, with new state wetlands permits in place that some have pointed to.
I don't know if it was just a coincidence that the wetlands went into effect 2025 of January, and this is the worst we've ever seen it.
People have criticized us for not having permits earlier. Well, Department of Environmental Conservation, this is a first harvesting experience they have with wetland permits, and it took time to develop that, and it was mid-April.
When Conroe says the weeds wouldn't have been tall enough to cut, Ryder and another group, the Chautauqua Lake Partnership, has advocated for herbicide use, and it's all but enough to churn the waters of who's in charge, with the CLA still seeking the county's support.
Is there another agency that can do this work? Because right now, I thought we had an agreement, and come to find out, we didn't.
We're optimistic this is going to break through and it's going to happen and the funds will come. But the story that you're hearing is not the complete story.
Now, everyone involved will be seeking a balance between the health of the lake, the longevity of it, but also the local economy. This lake attracts a lot of people to Chautauqua County, and in this state, it's not as attractive to many as it could be. Reporting on your side in Celeron, Rob Hackford, Channel 2 News.
Senate Homeland Security Committee report distributed last week covers the Secret Service actions on July 13, 2024 in Butler, Pennsylvania, when a 20-year-old man with a rifle fired several shots, which struck President Trump in the ear, killed another man at his rally, and wounded 2 others. That report specifically says the lack of structured communication was likely the greatest contributor to the failures of the Secret Service on that day. And it states the individual in charge of communications was the security room agent identified with name redacted as the special agent in charge of the Buffalo Secret Service field office. That agent from Buffalo was also interviewed specifically about his actions by that Senate committee last October. The report indicates there were apparent contradictions in testimony between him and a Pennsylvania State Police officer also at the rally about whether information about a suspicious person, later identified as the shooter, was adequately relayed to other Secret Service agents on scene so that they could take action or even keep then-candidate Trump off the stage until the threat was handled. The Senate report also says of the agent that despite his previous experience as a security room agent, he was, quote, not cognizant of issues which hindered his ability to perform his duty. It adds the severe lack of coordination and communication between Secret Service and local law enforcement is tied to a, quote, cascade of preventable failures which nearly cost President Trump his life. Retired Buffalo Police Captain Jeff Rinaldo, who now runs Terrian Group security firm, helped coordinate planning for then-candidate Trump's 2016 Buffalo rally, which was indoors, unlike the Butler event. He also says they had communication issues that day.
Every police agency is on their own channel. There is a shared channel. We figured out quickly that day that that channel wasn't working for a number of the officers. So again, the Erie County communications team came in and they had a trailer set up. So we had anticipated some potential communication issues, and we were able to, on the spot, reprogram officers' radios so that we all collectively could at least communicate with each other. You have to have situational awareness of what the other agencies are seeing, hearing, experiencing, what they're responding to. And if you can't communicate interagency, that's where bad things can happen.
A Buffalo police report indicates this incident happened June 28th at a home on Newburgh Avenue as a police officer was distributing brochures warning against use of fireworks. In this body cam video obtained by Channel 2 and a Freedom of Information request, the officer notices 2, quote, very large breed dogs behind a backyard fence, but suddenly they get through the gate and run towards him. The officer runs from the driveway up to a front porch, but the dogs continue towards him, and the report says he was forced to fire his weapon and kill one of the dogs to, quote, protect himself. It's no surprise to some animal advocates who say Justice Department reports show up to 10,000 dogs killed by police in the U.S. each year.
The number one reason a police officer in the United States fires their weapon is to shoot at a dog. A lot of people get very agitated about the police officers in these cases, and sometimes there is wrongdoing, but in many cases, it's just a lack of training. They haven't been shown how to do it any different, and they're in a split-second situation, and they reach for the only tool they know, which is their gun.
Green says training, usually a short class in how to de-escalate in such officer-dog interactions, is required for police by law in states like Texas and Colorado, and it can dramatically reduce the number of dogs killed. In fact, a 2014 Channel 2 report looked at the issue, then connected to police raids of drug houses where drug dealers were known to use the animals as weapons or security. And after a revelation that one BPT officer alone had shot 26 dogs, video training in animal behavior was actually established for the BPD. A city spokesman currently made no reference to such training and points out the actions of the officer in the June case were deemed to be justified and that the police procedures manual allows for use of a weapon in such cases. Green of Animal League Defense Fund says often lawsuits against police departments and communities change policies, and there may be other factors.
You have an officer firing their weapon in a populated area, what could possibly go wrong? So there's bystanders that get shot. There's the complainant themselves that calls and they've been shot. The police officers have shot themselves.
On your side, Ron Plants, Channel 2 News.
The Bills have the pieces to be one of the top linebacking units in the league. Will 2025 be the year that we see those pieces come together for a full season? Part of that equation, Matt Milano returning and staying at full health. After Milano's All-Pro nod in 2022, injuries in Week 5 of 2023, and in last year's preseason, limiting Milano to just 9 games over the past 2 seasons. Milano returned to action last season in December for his first game in over a year. And while he wasn't his former All-Pro self, he did appear more comfortable with each passing week and into the playoffs. Can Milano stay healthy and avoid any setbacks this training camp? If so, it would put him in position to play Week 1 for the first time in 2 seasons. This a critical year for the linebacker who turns 31 later on in July and is an unrestricted free agent after the season. Of course, if Milano is at full health, you feel great about the duo he'll be able to form with Terrell Bernard. Bernard really bursting onto the scene in 2023, and despite not having the same type of year last season, the Baylor product's importance to the defense continued to be on display. 103 tackles and 2 interceptions in 13 regular season games. The captain of the Bills defense signed long-term now after a 4-year extension this offseason. As he enters his 4th year in the NFL, the Bills set to benefit from his leadership and nose for the ball for the foreseeable future. If Milano or Bernard are forced to miss any time though, like they did last year, the Bills have seen the ability of Dorian Williams to step up. In just his 2nd season last year, the former 3rd-round pick out of Tulane played in all 17 games and led the team with 114 tackles and 3 fumble recoveries. The arrow clearly pointing up on Williams' trajectory. Behind that trio, it'll be a 2nd training camp with the Bills for Buffalo Joe Andreessen. What kind of camp and preseason can he put together after his stellar play last August powered his bid to make the initial 53-man roster? The question this year is not so much who will step up as much as it is a question about health. And if the Bills' top guys stay healthy this training camp, the position looks in a good spot heading into Week 1.